the end of a week where not much has been happening in the AFL, you'd have to say. We're back for this week's edition of the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour. I'm Sergio Paradise, and here he is, the star of the rural round. It's Titus O'Reilly.
The wool round.
I can't say rural.
I can't. I wasn't mocking you. I did it on Nova FM yesterday morning.
Rural. I just can't say it properly.
Wool round.
But if you'd watched the it sort of came and went without anything, did it?
Well, because there's the Kevin Sheedy came up with the rural game.
Yeah.
Which was
Who was that?
Richmond and Essendon or
something?
No, there's one that's Essendon and someone else, and it's a rural
Essendon,
game. And then Fox Footy seemed to get behind this rural round, so they thought that meant putting everyone in an Akubra.
Exactly.
It was like when politicians go to the country.
It was exactly like the Fox Footy. Every promo was hay bales and check shirts. You know, you see Jonathan Brown sitting on a hay bale in a check shirt with an Akubra and a bit of wheat in his mouth. That summed up rural round.
It reminds me of, we should thank Rob Sitch, who we had on last Thursday. And if you haven't listened to that podcast, we highly recommend you go and listen to it just because he's hilarious. But in the latest episode of Utopia, they're all out in the bush doing a signing, and they're all in sombre shirts and the white moleskins, the RM Williams boots. Yeah. Every single person, all the pollies and everything. And there's this bit where he goes, oh, you still got your tag on your shirt, because they're all like, no one's ever been anywhere near.
I think Rhonda from the National Building Authority had rushed out and bought 20 pairs of moleskins and 20 check shirts.
Now, we should thank our supporters just at the start. Once again, if you would like to become a supporter, you can go to TitusO'Reilly.com. There's a support button that enables us to do this regularly and enables me also to do all my writing and various things. And one thing, we didn't do one on yet. We were recording this on a Tuesday. We didn't do Monday yesterday because I just finished a book. Which I haven't announced before that I was doing, but thanks to supporters and things like that, I've been able to put some time in this. So I've got a book coming out just in time for Christmas.
Oh, of course. Is it in time for Father's Day?
No, this one's for Christmas. Right. It's a perfect gift for the person I don't care if anyone reads it. Just buy it for the sports fan in your family.
There you go.
So that's coming out later. There'll be more detail. Yeah, there's more detail about that, but that's why we didn't do yesterday, because I was finishing off the last bit and it's all done now. But we should also say the tour is going incredibly well. I think I've got a Brisbane date locked in, which I can probably announce on Thursday. So I haven't actually got the final details with it all, but it does look like it's all organised. Hobart, I'm having trouble with venues.
Right.
But in terms of availability.
Nothing big enough or
nothing small enough. But just on availability of the dates we can do and they can do. So we're just going to keep working on that. We will get a time. We will come to Tasmania.
I'm looking forward to adding on Brisbane.
Yeah, Brisbane will be good.
Queensland. We actually do have quite a few Queensland listeners to this podcast. Who have made the point that
hello,
nice
Brisbane,
to get there. And the Gold Coast.
So that's all happening. So it's all busy. We should mention we had the week. I think this happened after we interviewed Rob Sitch.
It happened. We did Rob on the Thursday lunchtime.
Yeah, break on the Friday.
The Thursday later that night.
Right.
Later Thursday and Friday morning.
Friday morning. And we're talking, of course, about the AFL losing half its executives in one day.
Yeah.
I got to the point where they started to announce, this story was coming.
Yeah.
And that there was likely to be some executives sacked for sleeping with staff.
Inappropriate behaviour.
Inappropriate relations or whatever they're saying. And insufficient, manifestly... I'm surprised they didn't come up with they've got insufficient intent, manifestly inadequate, and this was just inappropriate relations. I thought the guy on the thesaurus who uses the thesaurus to come up with everything else up there could have come up with a better one.
Yeah, I thought when the two execs were sacked, one of them should have been described as being careless.
Careless and reckless.
Reckless.
One was unintentional. Yeah. Trying to protest his.
Good luck on convincing your missus it was unintentional and careless.
Yeah, the thing I thought about that is, as the media conference was on, I thought, it might be quicker just to name who's not sleeping with someone.
There's a first thing I thought of, and I guess this is just probably my ugly mind and going back all those years, and I worked in TV, is thinking, geez, the AFL Christmas party's going to be tame this year. You're going to be all,
no alcohol,
be hitting the dance floor, or no touching on the dance floor.
The thing I found amazing about this, so everyone's saying, well, the AFL house has a huge culture problem.
Yes,
and maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. My thing is, it's always had. This isn't new. It's always been an alpha male dominated people.
It just goes a bit with the territory.
Well, it does. I'm not saying that. The thing that's good here is something's actually happened for once. Like, it hasn't been... Like, originally, I feel like it's kind of... You go back to the 70s, 80s, 90s, right? Not only would this not have
prime
been
time, as I like to call it.
Yeah. So was that the prime time of your life?
Maybe the 70s.
The salad years. The thing about that I find interesting is you go back 10, 20 years, 15 years. Not only would this not have been sort of... It wouldn't have just been a sackable thing or something that would have come out. It wouldn't have even been an issue. No one even would have thought it was an issue or cared. And then it sort of, we moved into probably in recent times, bosses sleeping with junior staff started to be seen as a bit of an issue.
Not ideal.
Not ideal. Suboptimal, but one that would be covered up.
Yeah, well, see, look, seriously.
And so suddenly we've moved to, it's not even going to be covered up. You're just going to be out the door.
Well, seriously, when you talk about, jokingly, the salad years of the 80s and 90s, I look back on my time working in TV and the media then. What would have happened, and I did see it happen a number of times, is if there was a bit of a controversy in a workplace with an executive or a slightly senior male sleeping with a junior, if any trouble was arisen, the girl will get sacked on the spot.
Yeah, it would be the other way around. Or quietly manoeuvred that to a club.
Or paid off 6 months and she's out of here, because it was regarded, the senior executives or producers or whatever their title was, they're indispensable. Yeah. But, some 19-year-old girl who does the photocopying, she is very dispensable. Whereas, obviously, as you say, things have changed and, it's probably for the better, a tad.
The thing that people... So we're talking about Simon Lethlean, who's the AFL football operations boss, and Richard Simkus, who was the GM of commercial. So they've both resigned over inappropriate relationships. Now, the thing here is... we were talking about this before, and I've talked about to a few, various footy fans. So people have said things from, they're consenting adults.
Yes.
So what's the big deal? This is ridiculous. This is this is just, to people bagging the AFL acting like this is a cover-up and all that sort of stuff, or, it's a terrible culture in there. The thing about these issues in the workplace is they're not black and white. Even legally, they're not black and white, and then they're morally not black and white.
Rarely are they black and white.
Well, the problem, though, is like, I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, why did they quit, or why did they resign, and why was it, desirable for them to resign? Like, because some people were just like, hang on, the two women involved were adult women. They weren't 14 when you can't give consent. They're old enough. Yeah,
too upset.
Well, one seems to be upset. The lawyer who's still there is on leave, and every report I've heard is upset. And we don't know about the other one. But the thing about this is there's a few threads that pull through this as why it's a grey area, but why I don't think it's a nothing thing. I don't think it's just consenting adults. It's not as simple as that, right? Because in some areas of life, if you don't work together, there's no entanglements with work. Well, therefore, if you both get along on whatever, even if it goes pear-shaped over time, bad luck, you're both adults, right? So that's a very clear thing. The other end of the spectrum is when you get into the murky area of underage people who can't give consent. So legally,
you're only black and white area.
Well, that's pretty black and white, because you just... Even if they say, I'm really keen, it doesn't matter, right? So they don't apply here. So you get into this workplace thing where it's...
To be fair, it's a long while since a 17-year-old has said, I'm really keen.
To you? To me, yeah. Yeah, well, look, it didn't happen to me when I was 17.
When you were 18, yeah.
That didn't happen to me even when I was 17 myself. So the thing here is, like, you get into the workplace. Well, one, it has an impact on... there's power imbalances, right? So if they're two peers, they don't report to each other. So if Bob from accounts and Sally from.
It's always, he's always from accounts.
Yeah. Sally from sales.
Yeah, it's always the bloke from accounts.
And they're relative peers and they don't work together on a day-to-day basis, hook up and it's consensual and all that. Work in the whole, this is where it begins.
It happens thousands of times
all the
every
time.
week.
And then people end up meeting their partner there and that. And workplaces are generally okay with that, right? Like they don't like it because if it goes pear-shaped and you both end up hating each other.
It can affect the workplace.
And the closer you work together, the more problematic that is, right? Where it gets legally and morally problematic is when you have very senior managers and gender is actually irrelevant in this because it just happens that us blokes are terrible.
and
women
and there's more
women
at
work are too busy working
because blokes are just standing around
doing nothing and
talking about the chicks.
They're just lazy bastards, and I know being one of them. But so when you've got those big power imbalances, it's almost not about where you get into trouble is where it's grey is you can have legitimate consent and it can not be a power thing and it can work out fine. Like Andrew Demetrio met his wife, who ended up marrying, having kids and still together that way, and there'd be thousands of cases people would know across the workplace. So this is where it's grey because you can have times when it's fine, really, technically.
And it works out fine.
But the problem for businesses is it's not about the relationship or the sex. It's about the power of senior people. Is there ever a time when the person who might enter it into consensually turns around and says, and legally they can do this and legally it counts, is go, I felt pressured at the time, I felt under that if I didn't, I'd be
possibly lose my job.
Yeah, well, it wasn't simple because my job was tangled up in this. And this is where it gets grey because work is tangled up in it. And so for a lot of businesses, they just go, you know what, the simple thing is don't allow that sort of stuff to happen. Don't, it's partly, it's separate to the moral thing because these guys cheated on their wives and all that. But from a workplace point of view, that's neither here nor there. They're not there to manage whether you get along with your wife or your husband, right? Like, because they've got enough problems. It's hard enough managing a business to start.
It's hard enough deciding whether to keep the roof open at Etihad each week, let alone
keep your marriage together.
Relationships.
So they can't even organise ticketing. So a lot of workplaces just say, well, it's just easier not to. Don't do it, especially because then you can't be. Then we're not exposed legally to problems. We're not creating an environment where it's seen as these power imbalances happen. And now some people will say, well, that's nonsense because they're consenting adults and they're all adults. But the workplace has nothing of saying, well, yeah, that's fine until it all goes pear-shaped or you do find out that and you were telling me, which I won't say on air, but you've been in a situation before, and I know I have too in the workplace where I've had young women say they felt pressured and sometimes they don't go through with it. They're more like, I felt pressured. And you go, well, that environment a workplace doesn't want to have, right? And they almost want to sacrifice the ones that are perfectly fine. And that's why I say it's a grey area, not a black and white area. But businesses policies don't do grey areas well. No. They either have to say, we're going to turn a blind eye to it all, or we're telling you not to do it. And if you do fall in love with the boy or girl Carol in marketing, Carol from sales, who's your junior by X degree, well, then fine. But one of you has to leave the organisation, then you can do whatever you want as consenting adults.
And in the old days, it would be Carol from sales.
Well, it would be whatever, yeah. So that's sort of like how it's.
Let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on some people saying this last week? Gill and McLaughlin had to railroad these two guys because the AFL has set itself up as the moral arbiter of everything that's good and bad in the society at the moment. So they had to be seen to be doing this.
Well, I think that the AFL has done that to an extent, but also if the AFL is going on this path, which it is, of trying to be more inclusive to women, of trying to change culture, on something I think is a good thing, they're going to have moments which are really positive. Culture change, whenever people talk about this stuff in business, and everyone sat through these at work, right, where your manager gets up and go, oh, we're all about this and this now. Yeah. and they all want the reflective glory of, like, the perfect example is launching AFL Women's.
Yeah.
Great initiative. Everyone pretty much loved it. You know, a few people got upset, but most people loved it, thought it was great, did better than they all expected, right? And they all got a lot of kudos for doing culture change well and having a tangible outcome of culture change.
Yeah.
So big tick to them for that. This is the other side of it. You can't, culture change isn't all easy. It's not, if you're changing something, it's not all going to be positive bouquets and applause all along the way. You're going to have to make hard decisions and do tough things. And here, the AFL had, to me, no choice. If you want to change the idea that there's a boys' club in there, if you want to change the idea that, you know, these are alpha males that just, you know, use their power for a whole range of advantages, this being one of them.
Yeah.
If you want to change that perception that this is a place where if you want to be a young woman and go and work there, you're not going to be preyed on by a boss, even if it's consensual. But you can bet if there's a few consensual, there's probably a heap of ones, if that's kind of allowed. Yeah. It's kind of a signal that, hey, we don't care if you try it on with, you know. That's the thing that underpins all this. And I think the AFL, if it's going to walk, this is them walking the walk. You know, they've had to talk the talk. And so in some ways I saw this as an incredibly good thing, but people don't really want to see it like that. But to me, because before this, and now you can debate about how the AFL got to it, whether they got to it fast enough, how long did they know what they knew and all that stuff. And I'm sure there are criticisms there, and I'm sure even they think maybe we could have handled this better. But when you think about it, the standard's now pretty clear.
Well, that's right. I mean, it was...
which it's never been before.
You could tell, if you listen to Gillan McLaughlin do the rounds of the radio stations on Saturday afternoon, you could tell that this, I'll call it his decision, or whether it's the decision of the commission or whatever.
Well, I've been told it was his decision.
Yeah, but it weighed fairly heavily on him. It wasn't a case of like finding that, you know, our old mate Bob from accounts again has had his hand in the till. You just board him and don't even worry about it. And
it's not sacking someone you just think, like, there's nothing easier than sacking someone that everyone hates and you don't like and they're hopeless at their job. I mean, it's never fun sacking anyone, but sacking, this is why I say culture change, which businesses normally don't do well, is actually hard because it means you have to do things like this. And that's why most of them never actually do it. They talk about it, but they never actually do it because it means actually getting rid of the boss. And it doesn't have to be about sex. You know, the boss that's a bully, sacking the bully. Yeah. Look at the IOC, the AOC. They didn't do climate change. They talked about it, but they still haven't sacked Mike Tancred.
He's still there.
He's still there, like, you know. And I also think from the outside, the AFL, it's easy to say they should have sacked them the minute they heard any rumours or anything. But as an employer,
you've got to. There's got to be a process.
There's legislation to follow.
I mean, in any workplace in Australia, I mean, there are grounds, of course, for sacking someone immediately on the spot. But 9 times out of 10, you've got to warn them once, or you've got to have the chat, or you've got to give them, you know, this sort of pump up.
You've got to prove it's true.
You've got to prove it's true. So, regardless of how they handle it, whether it was too soon or too slow, I think you're probably right that their hands were forced, given that they're trying to enforce this culture change. Now, I will say one thing. Poor old Simon Lethley, and I don't know Simon Lethley, I never met him in my life. Yeah. He couldn't be happy with the photo that the papers have been running. I mean,
that's his big act.
It's just like Richard Simkins got a big grin on his face, and he, whereas the one of Lethley, he looks like he's just been caught, I don't know, on CCTV knocking off a porn magazine from a 7-Eleven. You know, he just had that guilty look on his face. It's not a great photo.
That's the thing. It's a proud sleeping with junior staff at AFL houses. It's another great footy tradition gone the way of, they're going after the jumper punch, the bounce, and now you can't even. It means that for finally at AFL house, position description is going to take on a whole new meaning.
So you've just done 15 minutes of serious analysis on this, and we'll finish off with a lame joke like that.
Well, it is kind of a. Yeah, it's just an interesting time, I think, in that we'll look back and go, as a pretty big change in the AFL culture. Because you think about it, no one's ever been sacked for this before or let go. I know they technically resigned, but no one's ever been moved on. And can you imagine the chaos? This is the bit that can you imagine the chaos that's happening now across clubland?
Oh.
At every club?
At every footy club. And then
every chairman's going.
And the journos are
going. And every chairman and president's going, all right, who's...
Yeah.
Do you reckon they have an
I want to see a show of hands right now.
Do you think they should have a rooting amnesty?
Oh, mate, yeah,
come out and...
Like the gun amnesty.
Yeah, that's right. Come out and admit your affair, and then there's no more.
And it's all... We'll ignore it. We'll put it under the carpet. It'll never be mentioned again. But your side of the deal is it ends right now.
That's right.
A rooting amnesty. I mean, I like your thinking on that. but now, of course, I mean, as you say, the big thing is that this isn't Bob from accounts. These are two of your absolute senior execs
and with relatively junior staff too. Yeah. So it's not like it's...
So who's going to get the gig now?
I don't know. Well, last thing on that about the one thing I would say, because I got asked this on Twitter by a few people, and I meant to say it earlier during that thing, is a lot of people say, oh, it's workplace kind of, gone mad when you can't do this sort of stuff. If you're a university professor and you're found to have been sleeping with your students, even though they're over the age of 18, everyone would go, well, you got a duty of care to those people. What are you doing? But we don't have that same view about the workplace. But see, which is sort of strange when you think about it. But in every
American college movie that happens. I remember in Animal House.
Oh.
Donald Sutherland.
Is this your...
He was not...
Remind me not to hire you as my lawyer in one of these cases when you start... Your Honour, I'd like to put in as Exhibit A. I'd like to enter in Exhibit A, Animal House.
National Lampoon's Animal House.
And I'd like to play the whole for the court, if you please.
When Flounder's girlfriend was getting knocked off by Donald Sutherland, the English professor.
Sean
Actually,
wrote...
it wasn't Flounder. Flounder died recently.
Sean wrote in, fair to say infidelity round didn't go as well as expected. Well, that tops Raw round by a mile.
Yeah. What would they have dressed Jonathan Brown in for infidelity round?
Well, I don't think Jonathan Brown would be the face of it. I think we've got plenty of people. Yeah. Someone was... tweeted to me last night, DM'd me and asked if I was watching Footy Classified, which I must admit I wasn't, because I never watch it. And they said there was a very amusing moment where they asked Gary Lyons' view on this. And they said he looked...
Did he just throw it to Matthew Lloyd?
Apparently he looked like... The whole thing, he basically didn't say a word, and it was all, he looked like, why would you ask me this question?
Yeah,
and I thought, well, he's the guy with the experience.
Yeah, if anyone knows what
I thought he'd launched a staunch defence.
Gas.
Yeah. Now, you're asking who might fill it. The rumour going around, and it's been floated in the paper a bit, is Nathan Buckley could reply.
Look, call me stupid, but I thought he's already got a job and still has a job, does he not? I mean, he may not have one in 6 weeks' time.
They won on the weekend, which is just continuing this thing of they never truly bottom out Collingwood.
Yeah. Geez, you know what? I never hope Collingwood win, but I hope they win the next 2 or 3 and they reappoint him just to see the hysteria that will cause.
But did you see, one thing I found amusing watching the footy over the weekend is... Eddie Maguire hosting Friday night and just over the weekend. He has come back overseas and man was he angry. He was, even for him, I was like, he came out and John Ralph asked him about the Buckley situation
thing,
and he teed off on Ralph, he teed off on Jonathan Brown. He just went around like with a machine gun and just killed everyone.
I saw him and thought, geez, that holiday's really, calmed you down.
That's exactly what I thought.
He's lying on a beach for 2 weeks.
He's so angry.
That'll sort you out,
won't it? Gee. And then I realised, well, he hasn't eaten for about 2 months.
So he's been living on lettuce leaves.
So that's why he's so angry.
Yeah.
God, he was angry. I mean, even 1 or 2 of the points he made were solid points. It was just the anger that was coming across,
That's why I hope they reappoint Buckley, just to annoy everyone.
Do you find when... A lot of people say this when they got brothers or sisters when they were younger. Having someone be that angry, it's hard not to laugh.
Oh,
do you find that when someone's like, you're just going, it almost doesn't matter what they're saying.
Yeah.
They're so complete.
Yeah. Mate, settle down,
Oh, it was just great viewing. I hope people saw it because it was terrific. Well, I think Bucks. I mean, well,
who else could? Bill Cosby.
Yes, you could run your favourite Ivan Milat up the flagpole. You always
Gary penciled in for Oz.
Gary Lyon, Wayne Carey's could
Nick
do
Stevens.
it. Nick Stevens, a great guy. God, there's some Daniel Kerr.
Yeah,
there's some shocking blokes, isn't there, involved in football?
Oh, there always has been.
Everyone says that there are
Faur. He's already gone. Although Gillen did say that both Lethlean and
will be backing jobs in Clubland.
Yeah. They will.
Talk about undercutting your whole strong message in a minute.
I reckon he could have not said that, or at least maybe said it a month later.
At least pretend for a year that they're not, and then go, Andrew Dillon, who was the legal counsel, he's now doing he's acting operations boss and everything, but he's a bit reminds me a bit of the guy, because remember Mark Evans got moved up to the Gold Coast, and he's sort of the Stephen Bradbury. He's now he is the second in charge really of the AFL now, and he's just, by not stuffing up, he's just glided in, and he doesn't do a lot of media. When he does, he's very
everything's by the book.
He's done well. Now, Roger Federer, have you heard of this guy?
He's
tennis player.
He's had a reasonable run lately.
Yeah, I was shocked to learn this isn't the seniors tour.
No.
This is in real tennis.
Yeah, this isn't those dodgy matches with like Pat Rafter and John McEnroe and Goran Ivanisevic, where they all carry on and act like,
Yeah, it's there. They do jokes halfway through, and
it's just
invite a fan to come in and serve a shot,
or they play with one of the giant rackets.
Nothing is funnier than when someone brings out the giant racket,
and especially when it's like they do it before the Australian Open every year for the Kids' Day.
Yeah,
there genuinely is nothing funnier than when Novak Djokovic picks up the giant racket, because there's a thing at tennis. Tennis players don't have to do much to get a laugh from the crowd, do they?
No.
They hit the ball and it's caught by a ball boy. The place goes up as if Chris Rock's just walked on stage.
It's true. It does. It's easy laughs. Perhaps we should perform to a tennis crowd instead.
Well, I'll bring the big rackets.
That's all we need.
Rob Sitch, he told me many years ago, he said one of the successes of the Late Show, he said, I'll give you a tip. Big props.
Right.
He said, when everything else fails, bring out a big prop. That was the secret.
That's the secret sauce of working.
Graham and the Colonel. He said, when the jokes were done, we'd bring out the big props.
Well, Federer won Wimbledon the other night, which is amazing because it's 8 times he's won Wimbledon.
8 singles titles, which is just ridiculous.
And it's more than any man in history of the event since 1877. So you would remember when it started.
Yeah.
He didn't drop a set for the whole tournament.
Is that right?
Yeah, the whole tournament he didn't drop a single set.
So you'd have to say it was a fairly comprehensive victory.
And he won. It's his 19th Grand Slam that he's won, championship. And he won in just over, 6-3, 6-1, 6-4 in just 1 hour, 41 minutes.
Jeez, you'd be spewing if you'd paid $2,000 for this.
Does this say a lot about how good Federer is or how bad the competition is at the moment? Well, and I'm not saying that really to disparage Federer. He might have won anyway.
Well, Marin Cilic wasn't, he's even at his best. I mean, he's a very good tennis player. But he's not in Federer's class. Yeah. I mean, you would have liked to have seen Andy Murray get through, or Djokovic. He's gone off the ball lately, and they reckon he's gone off the ball for very similar reasons to Simon Lethlean and Richard Simkins.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah.
Never, it's like Tiger Woods. You should never play away from home.
No, exactly.
This is the sanctity of family, Serge.
I mean, and you see him walk on the tennis court wearing all white. You go, I know what you've been doing. Settle down, Novak. But it answers your question. just on a tangent.
You shouldn't be allowed to wear white. It's not a wedding. Unclean. That's what the crowd just start yelling.
A big red S.
Do you think
stenciled on the back of his
Do you think
shirt.
if Djokovic got caught cheating and his wife's yelling at him, going, I can't believe he did this to me, and he goes, hang on one sec. He goes in the other room, comes back with a giant racket to distract her? This will cheer up the mood.
And the giant tennis ball. Yeah, I got autograph this with a big texter.
Honey, stop. Look what I got.
It
always works.
Kids love this.
Actually, he had the affair with the giant tennis racket. That's the problem.
So I don't even know what your question was, but yeah.
What are we talking about tennis.
Federer being too good for everyone else.
Is it the others are not? Like, it seems like he went through the. I mean, he's a great player. He's the greatest, probably close to the greatest tennis player ever. You know, it's sort of him and Rod Laver and.
Yeah, well, he's never won a Grand Slam like Rod Laver, but
different time.
Different times.
But
and you know the other thing about Federer, he's widely regarded, I think, throughout the world, as being a good bloke. If ever somebody was going to pass the good bloke test.
But a true good bloke,
exactly,
not the AFL good bloke.
Not a sarcastic good bloke like we talk about. He's a nice guy. Genuine good bloke.
He's won the title at Wimbledon 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007.
Five in a row.
And he won 2009, 2012. He also lost finals in 14 and 15 to Djokovic before Djokovic had an affair with the giant
tennis
racket. Nick C. rating, how many Wimbledon titles will it take before Roger Federer gets bored? Well, we might have been bored this time.
I think he's alluding to Bernard Tomic on that one, isn't he?
Yeah, I know.
How many Wimbledon titles for Bernie to win before he gets bored?
None.
He's already bored. He can't get past the first round.
That reminds me of when you're a teenager and they're like, I'm bored.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're boring.
Yeah. I get it home now, what am I going to do now? The Wi-Fi's down. What am I going to do? I don't know. Go out, ride your bike, perhaps. Go for a run.
Do you go and go, hang on, kids, go to the garage and come out with a giant racket?
Yeah.
I've got a giant, and they're like, oh.
I tell you what, I'm buying for the tour. We're going to walk out with a big racket.
You know what? If you buy a giant racket, you're going to be responsible getting it through the airport every time we have to go somewhere. I'll get to the show, and so Sergio's going to be late because he's still stuck explaining checking in a giant racket. Patrick Dangerfield this week. Were you watching this game, the Hawthorn-Geelong, just before I start?
I did watch this game.
So he got a knock to the leg.
Yeah, and at first it looked
rough Ed ran into him.
Yeah.
Legally ran into him, and look at it. And Eddie McGuire and the commentators, especially Eddie, were like, "Well, Patrick Dangerfield just died in front of us, and rest in peace, Patrick Dangerfield." And you thought, well, this is Geelong season over, the way they were talking, right? And they quickly scaled that down in about 3 minutes to bit of a sore leg.
Well, I saw a guy on Twitter said, I saw Dangerfield go down, and the commentators suggested it was an ACL. He said, I quickly ran to my phone and unloaded on Sportsbet on Dustin Martin in the Brownlow. He said, by the time the bet had been taken on, he'd kicked another 4 goals.
But he kicked 5-6.
Yeah, he could have kicked 9.
He was all over the shop kicking, and quite a few of them he really should have slotted. It was,
it was his sore foot.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, it was an amazing performance. Like, he was in that zone that you rarely see anyone. Yeah. I mean, there were comments about it, but it did remind me of watching Gary Ablett Sr. and a few of those things. Wherever the ball went near them, you were like... And
he was just too good for whoever was around.
Yeah, just
ridiculous.
And in an iron lung and everything, it was an amazing thing. Kane Corns came out and said that Dangerfield was known at Adelaide for feigning injuries.
Exaggerating his injuries, I think.
And people had to actually pull him aside and talk to him, according to him. And I thought Dangerfield played this perfectly, showing up at the press conference... with a sling and crutches and
a head bandage and
a foot to show where he'd broken it.
I think that was really funny. He lost it a bit, Danger, yesterday when he tried to do some jokes at the press conference. He should have just stuck with the sight gag, I reckon. It was very, very funny.
He should have had a giant racket.
I was about to say.
Nothing funnier.
A giant racket. And I'll tell you what is even funnier. Is trying to bounce the giant ball with the giant racket before you serve it.
It was interesting the way they, Kane Corn seems to be one. We had someone who
come from nowhere.
You know what I reckon? He's someone. One of it was I forget who it was, but they did win a T-shirt. It was one of the things they said. Did he give up being a firefighter because he realised he was better at starting them? But I reckon Kane Corns. I'm trying to figure out has he just learned? Because you look at, that Stephen A. Smith on ESPN in America and some of those, the people who are getting big $1 million sports commentary, punditry contracts in the States are the ones that come out and do this. They just create controversy. They don't care what they say, and they say. And it's
like Sydney radio, the shock jocks.
Yeah, and it's Kane Corns because he's got
extreme.
Yeah, and Kane Corns has gone from, based in Adelaide, most people in Melbourne wouldn't really listen to him or anything. Just regardless of even if everyone hates him or doesn't hate him or likes him, whatever, he's leading the media every week. And has he just figured out the secret? He was on
a South Australian radio show that it might be popular in Adelaide, but in Melbourne and nobody could care less.
Yeah.
Whereas now, you see the name Kane Corns, go, and he was on, what's he said now?
And they had him on, was it Talking Footy?
He was on Talking Footy. He was on
Talking Footy as well. Yeah. So he's suddenly he's gone from 0 to 100 just by, I'll just throw a grenade here and a grenade there.
Yeah, he's worked it out pretty well. I mean, he's coming out and whack here and there. He's probably, hoping to increase his contract.
Ashley Warner wrote in, is Dangerfield the All-Australian full forward? Are there rules to prevent naming the same player in all 22 positions?
Where would you'd have to put him in the midfield, Danger, for the All-Australian side.
Yeah,
he's having a fair season again.
Well, I just wish people would talk about him more.
Him and Dusty. Oh, gee, I gotta say, I know I'm not a Richmond fan, but I reckon young Dusty, the match review panel, they've looked after him this week to make sure he could still win the Brownlow.
Oh, just slightly.
If they will, deny that completely, but they have fair income looked after him to make sure he can still win.
Well, do you think that's because a lot of the match review panel ex-footballers, so of
course they're all ex-players. But this is my point, is that being ex-players and ex-AFL players, they know what happens out there better than anyone. And they should be... It goes back to the old players' code, which used to be, the tribunal, you'd never dob on the bloke who belted you. Yeah. That you don't have to really do that anymore because you rarely go to the tribunal.
And it's always on TV now.
Yeah, and it's pretty obvious, Whereas I think that having the players on the match review panel, as I said, they should know better than anyone what's going on out there. And they should be the ones to say, hang on, look, we know. We're not going to call it careless or reckless. I know that elbow was not reckless or careless because I know I've done it myself. Yeah. Bang, and they fixed up Bernie Vince for that, although that was careless or reckless.
She was silly.
Oh, as soon as he did it, did you see the look on Eddie Betts' face? It's like, really? Dude, what? And,
but that's the thing in Melbourne at the moment. What are they? They all can't. They can't keep their hands to themselves. They're like an AFL executive. Stuart McGill, former Australian Test cricketer Stuart McGill, and wine fan.
Yeah, he had a wine TV show. Didn't he?
For a while.
He was married to, who was that? Rachel Beck.
Was he?
Or Rachel Friend.
And is he still married to her? How's that worked
I don't think
out?
so.
Oh, that's a surprise.
No, it was a Rachel.
It was one of the Rachels.
Yeah, it wasn't the Rachel from Friends.
The Rachels all blur into one. All the Australian Rachels on Stars. Now, this sounds...
This has been banging around for a while,
for a while he's been seeking... he's been trying to get money out of Cricket Australia for $2.6 million, saying that they didn't pay him back when he was injured. Injury payments. Cricket Australia have said all along, there are certain in your contract to get injury payments, you need to meet certain criteria, which you didn't do at the time, so therefore
and he hasn't backed off.
Have to pay you. Well, this is amazing to me. He's and he started this, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, and look, maybe he's got a case, maybe he doesn't. But if you start something like this, do it properly.
See it through.
Like, it's got 2.6 million in you're spending on lawyers and all this sort of stuff. Do it properly. But he seems to have. He was a no-show in a hearing earlier this year, which I think we talked about at the time, and then he represented himself. Now, whenever you hear someone in court represented themselves,
it means you have a fool for a client.
You look at it straight away and just go, "Oh no,
mate."
Especially.
Who do you think you are, Julian Knight?
Well, it might be a bit of a stretch. I mean, a lot of people don't like Stuart McGill, but Julie, you've really.
As far as I know, he didn't shoot 7 people.
No, I'm pretty sure. It's probably still too soon to make jokes about that, Serge, but then you have done the Ivan Milat. Anyway, he represented himself, which to me there's two things there. One, representing yourself makes you a bit of an idiot, even if but if you're not even a lawyer. Like, I could understand you thinking
if you've
about
got a law degree,
I can understand. Say you were the best lawyer in Australia in a particular field, and you'd be tempted to represent yourself, knowing that you are the best lawyer. But you might also go, well, there's the emotional component. That's why I normally would.
When lawyers
but at least I could understand the rationale to that, that you were a lawyer at least to begin with. So to my knowledge, Stuart McGill is neither a lawyer.
No. I mean, all he was really is the second best spinner in Australia for a very long time.
So apparently, he at the directions hearing at the Victoria Supreme Court, he appeared. He represented himself, and it said he appeared nervous and struggled to articulate his case.
There you have it.
There you go. It says that he was then told basically that he was trying to angle in this directions hearing because it's due to go to trial on August 14th. McGill, in this directions hearing, tried to get this move towards having a court-ordered mediation. So basically, he can't afford a trial, doesn't want one, so he wants to go to mediation.
Has anyone pointed out to Stewie that he's probably not the only cricketer at the moment trying to get cash out of Cricket Australia?
I don't think anyone's getting cash out of Cricket Australia unless you're a senior exec there. He said he had not realised that court-ordered mediation's disallowed because he had represented himself. So once again, not being a lawyer, he didn't know that.
He's not playing this well, Stuart. The odds have been picking up 2.6 mil out of this. They're 100 to 1 and...
If you're framing a market on this, it's not looking good for Gilly.
Yeah.
So now he's got a choice. He's basically, if he wants to now get it into mediation, he has to go and raise the funds to secure a solicitor and then apply for mediation to stem off the trial. Or I guess he can just decide not to go ahead with the trial. So that's sort of his... He could go to trial, I think, and represent himself still. Yeah. But going off this, I'd suggest that was starting to look like a...
Maybe he should just walk in with a big tennis racket.
Distract him. But I reckon he should give Hurdy a call, because if there's anyone that knows how to lose a court case, but expensively. So I don't think McGill's thought this through.
Macca. No, I don't think he's thought it through. It's obviously it's going back a fair while now that he's wanted this money, and obviously Cricket Australia have stalled it, and there'd have to be... He'd want to find some good little legal angles, I reckon, to be any chance of pulling this one off.
I don't think it
doesn't sound like he's doing it very, very smart at all.
No. Speaking of Cricket Australia and how they're going at the moment, which is terrible, did you see David Peever's, the chair, wrote that column? And Gideon Haigh wrote a great piece about this, and Joe Aston in the Fin Review has been writing great stuff on this.
The Fin Review one I read.
Yeah, the Gideon Haigh one was good too. They're all tearing strips off Cricket Australia. Yeah. Just tearing strips off them, because this has been a debacle from Cricket Australia since day one. Yeah. They are just... They have not made the case of why they want to do this. No. And then they've handled it so badly. And then Peever came out and wrote this whole column about how done he was.
Yeah,
who's the guy that's he's just single-handedly ruining the cricket, and has no idea what he's doing. It's become incredibly obvious. But James Sutherland, who is the Cricket Australia CEO, who's been astoundingly absent from
conspicuously.
So you got the chairman writing columns. You got him going over to London, then coming back and saying, "Well, I'm not meeting with anyone." And
now he has been meeting with them, but we haven't really heard what's been going on.
No. But anyway, there was a story this week in the paper, which was his 17-year-old son has chosen, who is a star Aussie rules player, looking like getting into the draft at a high level, has chosen cricket over football. Will play football because he's apparently that good. Now, do you think he's going into cricket because he's the only one who he'll be captain in a week because there's no one else?
This is my theory. I reckon he knows something that we don't. He might only be 17. I mean, he's a very good footballer. Terry Wallace reckons he would have gone top 5 after the Vic Metro Championship.
So probably not that good. Top 50.
He'll go 60th and never play a game.
Terry Wallace said he hadn't seen anyone so good at such a young age since Richard Tambling.
or Anthony Bannock.
Oh, the list manager. What a champ.
I reckon young Will Sutherland, I reckon he knows. I think he thinks, I maybe only be 17, but the way this is panning out, and having a couple of beers with Dad the other night, I could be a chance for Boxing Day.
Do you think his dad will now try, now that his son's going to be a cricketer, you think now he's going to go, well, let's get this deal settled because my son's going to need some money?
See, I see conspiracies at every corner here. I think there's that. I think young Will reckons he's a chance to represent Australia on Boxing Day. His old man will shovel through a solution to all this. And also, from a financial sense, young Will Sutherland's probably thought, you don't have to be one of the top 3 or 4 cricketers in the country to make $2 million a year.
No, go to the IPL.
Yeah, go to the IPL, go Bangladesh.
Remember Maxwell got something like I remember at the time, he got $1.5 million for 7 weeks' work.
And he's barely played a test match. Whereas to play in the AFL, if you want to be making $1.5 million a year, you got to be Nat Fyfe or Buddy Franklin. And and it's, despite what the list manager says, that's a fair way off for a 17-year-old.
Do you reckon he read Terry Wallace's comments and went, footy's dead end to me then?
I'll just get out the old bat and ball, take them and go home.
Now, we've got a ton of listeners' questions that came in. Some great ones, actually. Now, Martin James Rocks has written in. Now, I should have said, Martin James Rocks, he's won a prize before for best question. Yeah, he's already got a t-shirt.
So
I'm sending it out to him, but in my correspondence with him to get his address, because I remember he said Martin Rocks. It's a great name, but as he made it up, he said no. His actual name is Martin Rocks.
Is that true?
Yeah, but Facebook doesn't let him say Martin Rocks because they think he's trying to do slang. So he has to put in his middle name.
Martin James Rocks, okay.
I wrote back to him, it gives me you don't know how much pleasure it gives me to know that your name is Martin Rocks in real life.
So what's he had to say?
He said, given their injury crisis, will the GWS call up some of their rookies from Carlton? Well, Carlton don't have many. You got a few injuries. Cripps is injured.
What have they got? 8 players from GWS, which obviously stems from Steve Silvani's time up there. But you've got to say that if they were the 8 best players at GWS, they'd still be there, you would think.
Oh, yeah.
So,
but, they do have a bit of an oversupply of good players up there.
Yeah.
Matt Mansfield wrote in.
Is that his real name? Matt Mansfield?
I think so.
Matt from Mansfield.
Matt from Mansfield, and we're on AM. If Isaac Smith was a wrestler, what would his signature finish move be? Because it isn't goal kicking.
Oh, that's nasty, isn't it?
Gee, it's an annual event now, him letting the Cats win.
I've got to say, I watched the end of this game, and millions of other people watching it thought, why did he play on?
Well,
why did he play on? He was 45 metres out.
When I was talking to Jonathan Brown about this yesterday, and I said, and he said that, and I said, but the year before he missed on a set shot. So he's versatile.
He's
he can lose games from on the run or on a set shot.
Or on a set shot, yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Being a left footer, he probably backed himself on the run and he's tugged it to the right.
Matt Neal wrote in, how will we got a few Doctor Who questions, because have you heard the news about Doctor Who?
Yeah.
Doctor Who's now a woman.
I know.
And I know you'd be outraged about it.
Geez, what next? Real women doctors.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, who's going to answer the phone?
Yeah, how did... I did love. One of my favourite things about this thing, where women get put in like the Ghostbusters role, or Wonder Woman's made, is the blokes that get upset about this, and you just go like. Mate,
it's just made up stuff.
He's a Time Lord, and you go, it's not accurate anymore. It's ruined the accuracy. He goes, he changes body shape every time. I saw someone write on Twitter, and it was a tweet that was shared a lot. Someone I don't follow, but they said, the Doctors moved back between being Scottish and English actors before, and they said that's a much bigger change than men to women, and no one complained about that. So anyway, there's a lot of anger.
Oh, there is a lot of anger. Mick Malloy actually made the point on radio this morning that the problem with this is how long until the TARDIS is covered in a few dents.
See, to me, I'm quite happy not watching.
I've never seen Doctor Who.
I loved Doctor Who when I was a kid. But, on the ABC, the old Tom Baker ones and things like that. But, yeah, haven't really watched the new ones. But I'm just as comfortable not watching a woman or a man. Yeah. And that's equality to me.
I could care less about
You could not watch them for hours. Anyway, Matt Neal wrote in, how will Doctor Who being a woman affect the finals, or indeed anything at all?
Oh, I think we've just answered that, Matt.
It's spot on, Matt. It's going to have a huge impact. Ben Gross wrote in, who's your favourite Doctor? Doctor Who, Dr. Zaius, or Dr. Peter Larkins? Dr. Peter Larkins should have become Doctor
Who. He should have.
And just come out and diagnose
people. But wearing a Dr. Zaius mask. Dr. Zaius, of course, being from Planet of the Apes.
Oh, Dr. Peter Larkins. Dan Crowley wrote in, given Clayton Oliver's recent acting skills, was he unlucky not to be cast as the new Doctor? I had to put that in because even though we stand up for Clayton because we're incredibly biased, but we got to we've got to take our medicine.
The BBC's looking for a pasty-faced redhead 19-year-old. I don't think so.
He's Clayton fights. He doesn't fight the Daleks. He fights Carlton fans who are just as evil,
just as much the same. Yeah.
Andrew Mark Young wrote in, if Port Adelaide make the grand final, who will sing the Chinese national anthem?
Clubhouse leader at this stage, Mark, with this question.
Koshi, I think.
Koshi? Sam Pang.
Is Sam Pang going to do it?
Yeah, he might be. He's the only well-known.
Well, Sam
vague Asian face I can think of.
Sam Pang has agreed to come on the podcast. I can announce.
We'll be seeing him
we
very soon.
Put the date in yet, but I talked to him yesterday about coming on. That's going to be good. They're going. He's everywhere at the moment.
Oh, isn't he? Well, have you been paying attention?
And the front bar.
The front bar. Yeah, he's a new superstar.
Andrew Stace wrote in, would finding the answer to the meaning of life help us to understand how a 15-metre kick can be so short and a 15-metre run so long, or are some mysteries best left unsolved?
Gee, that's a good question, isn't it? He's spot on there.
Well, because the whole thing is, if you're an umpire, you have to be able to tell 50 metres for a 50-metre penalty. You have to know the 15 metres for the kick, 15 metres for the run. Like, there's all these little things you have to be able to judge instantly. And then you put that across 3 different people who all have to be able to do that. And then we're surprised. And then you also got 10 metres away from the mark and all these things.
And there's the deliberate, you've got to work out their motive for pushing it towards the boundary. Jaden Hunt got pinged for running too far the other week against Carlton.
They should have let that go.
They should have.
That was like
sensational goal.
It's like in the NBA. The NBA went, we're not really going to enforce travels when it's an amazing dunk.
But they don't enforce travel at any time in the NBA.
Well, especially if you're a star.
Yeah.
Every now and then they'll pick one out on a rookie just to let the rookie know.
Earlier last season, I was watching the NBA and Cleveland were playing. LeBron James got called for travel. And you should have seen the look on his face. He was absolutely flabbergasted.
Yes, he'd taken 8 steps, but yeah, it is amazing.
As if.
But I agree, Andrew. It makes no sense whatsoever.
No, it doesn't.
Elliot Brannon wrote in, now that we know what it takes to get fired from a major sporting organisation, can we put out a call for volunteers to be caught in a compromising position with Cricket Australia chairman David Beaver? I'll organise a whip around if the person needs some financial encouragement.
There'd be a fair bit of financial encouragement required, I would imagine, there.
That's the way to get it.
What would happen in Cricket Australia if a similar thing occurred to the AFL?
I don't know.
They've got enough on their hands at the moment, I guess.
They've got their hands full. So I'd love to have an affair, but I got my hands full.
Yeah, got my hands full. Yeah. With a giant tennis racket.
Trying to distract the union with this giant tennis racket.
So that's how they can break the union.
Yeah, you say, hey, every player gets a free big giant tennis racket.
You used to be able to smash a picket line with, an axe handle. That's a giant Yonex.
Well, good. I think that's the best plan I've heard from Elliot of how to break this strike is get David Peever caught in a compromising position. But it's a hard ask.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah.
We wish you every success.
His wife's already said no.
Chris Tierlek wrote in, a club doctor's no longer needed as concussed players now only leave the field if their captain and leading goal kicker tell them to. Did you see this for Rory Sloane? He wouldn't go off. He'd been knocked out.
Oh, he was away with the fairies and he got up and the doctor was there and it was, come on Sloane, you've got to come off, and he would not go until Tex Walker and Eddie Betts gave him the tap on the shoulder and sort of marched him off.
That's when you know.
Tell you what, if Tex Walker told me to get off the ground, I'd get off the ground real quick.
Even if you were on the opposition team.
Yeah, exactly.
See, I was saying what baffled me was when the stretcher came out and they said, Rory, lie down on the stretcher. And he was like, no, not doing it. And I thought, hey, in my life, I'll take any opportunity to lie down.
Yeah.
Especially in the workplace.
Yeah. Especially when they're going to drive you somewhere.
Yes.
You lie down and they drive you off the ground.
Perfect.
Why wouldn't you?
I'd be doing it every time. Now, Stephen Quartermain, former guest and from Channel 10 and great footy call. I feel that he's doing some radio now, but I feel TV we really lost out when Channel 10 lost the rights.
Oh, the Channel 10 coverage was great.
Especially now with the commentators we've got.
Oh, yeah. I remember at Channel 10 there was Quarters and Anthony Hudson. No, Malcolm Blight was a special comment. So
they did give us Stephen Silvani, though, on special comments.
That's true.
Which was one of the...
But generally speaking, Channel 10 did a pretty good job.
Oh, they did. I always wanted Channel 10 to go broke just so Quarters would end up being able to call footy again.
Yeah, well, you're half there.
We're on our way.
And this time next year.
Waiting for the Benny Elias to buy it.
Maybe we have roaming quarters after the game.
Roaming quarters. Jesus.
So what's he had to say?
Stephen Quartermain wrote in, why do the Demons play such unsociable football?
Oh, there we go. Coming from an old Hawthorn supporter.
What I loved about that is, on Twitter, it was such an obvious him trolling us.
Yeah.
Beautifully done, Quarters.
Bang.
And I did enjoy it very much, but a bunch of people took him seriously and go, this from a Hawthorn supporter?
Yeah, they took him to task immediately.
Yeah, they did. They thought he was being
obviously just bagging us having a crack at Melbourne Sports, which is fine.
No, I like it if someone bags me or my team, I like it if it's clever. The ones that go, you're a flog, I go, oh, come on, mate, put some effort in.
Yeah.
Come on.
State the obvious.
There is 1,000 things you could bag us over. There is 1,000. Come up with something. Put a little effort in. Well done, Quarters. That was very good. But I did enjoy you having to hose down Twitter fires for the next half hour after that question.
I reckon it backfired.
It did a bit on him. I did enjoy, and especially because most of that hosing down was from my fake accounts that I quickly created. Michael Barbaro wrote in, when butterflies get nervous, do they feel humans in their stomach?
Oh, Michael,
I think that's an
old...
You've
had a big weekend, haven't you, Michael?
I think that's an old Bill Murray joke.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Oh, come on, Michael.
Stealing Bill Murray.
We're the only ones allowed to pinch jokes around here.
I think Michael Barbaro is Bill Murray's alter ego on Twitter. Michael Howley wrote, is Sergio related to the bird of paradise?
What?
Sergio Paradise.
Oh, I know
you do have a beautiful plumage.
Yeah, well, the bird of paradise, I think, is a native of Papua New Guinea and has known for its narcissistic,
tendencies.
tendencies.
You don't look like you're from Papua New Guinea.
No,
I have to say.
I get fairly swarthy in summer.
Yeah, you got a nice tan. You do have a good tan, but not that good. Well done, Michael. Now, do we have a favourite out of all of these?
Well, I reckon my favourite.
I think it's your turn to do this because I did last week. And we've remembered to do it, which is, extra points to us.
My favourite, Mark Young. If Port Adelaide make the grand final, who will sing the Chinese national anthem? I reckon that is a ripping question.
Well done, Mark. And thank you to everyone. We had good questions this week. We will definitely be back Thursday.
We will indeed.
As
long as there's no more AFL executives bite the dust over the next couple of days.
We might have to do an emergency one.
We had a couple of people say on Friday, can you quickly do a last minute?
I know, but we were both drunk.
Yeah, we were drunk because celebrating, thinking we were a chance.
We were both filling out our applications to get. I'd love to be the AFL operations manager.
Oh, you know what? The first thing I'd do, I would make the roof at Etihad just half open,
just to annoy half the people.
Not have it shut. Not have it open, just half open.
See, that would be where I'd kind of enjoy watching you be it, because you'd just use it to troll people. Just arbitrary decisions.
And all the goalpost cameras, I'd turn them round so they're all pointed at the crowd.
You'd still get as good a view as you do now.
You'd still get just
pointless
as reliable.
See, I'd get rid of the goal reviews instantly.
Yeah.
I'd just go, you know what? If they get it wrong, they get it wrong. Bad luck. They get it wrong with the...
Worked fine for 150 years.
Yeah. I'd get rid of Carlton.
Yeah, you get rid of Carlton. What, the team or the entire suburb?
Boom. Get rid of Etihad. It'd be gone.
Oh, Etihad, you'd close that immediately.
I'd get rid of Stadium Australia, ANZ Stadium up there, even though AFL doesn't play there anymore. I'd just go and settle scores.
Just closing down. What about Cardinia Park?
Oh, I'd give it another. I'd invest in buy another stand.
Fair enough.
Because if there's one thing Geelong needs, it's more infrastructure.
More infrastructure.
Taxpayer-funded infrastructure. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks to everyone who's gone on and rated us on iTunes or left a comment. If you do that, it helps us spread the word.
It does indeed.
And thank you to everyone who's a supporter and everyone who's thinking of becoming a supporter.
Yeah.
Not just the people thinking of becoming a supporter, but the people thinking about it but then do.
Yes.
People who are just ongoing thinking about it. I don't, forever. I don't know if I need to thank you.
We don't need you. We don't need you, quite frankly.
We desperately need you.
But all those people who are thinking of buying tickets to the tour, please go ahead and do so. I noticed the other night there are not too many left in Melbourne.
Melbourne's going well. Perth and Canberra are very close to selling out. Adelaide's going well, I think, from memory. Brisbane go on sale, I think, soon, so we'll have an announcement about that pretty soon. Sydney's going all right. Tickets there. Come on, Sydney.
Yeah, come on, Sydney. You can lift.
So, the Melbourne one's going really quickly, so that's good. Thanks to our families for buying those. And we'll see everyone on Thursday.
See you then.